The debt that was never mine. I was 26 when I realized I'd quietly become my family's unofficial ATM. Not just a helper or the good kid, I was the bailout plan, the emergency fund, the catch-all solution to problems I never created. And the messed up part, I didn't even see it happening until much later. That's how deep I was in it. It started small like these things always do. After college, I landed a steady job in tech. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than anything my family had ever seen. Within 6 months, I moved back home, telling myself it was temporary. My mom said she needed help watching my little brother while she worked double shifts. My dad said it'd just be for a bit until he got back on his feet after being laid off. And I believed them. I always did. Then came the bills. First it was the electric bill, then the car payment, then my dad's back taxes. My little brother needed new cleats for soccer. My mom's car broke down. My older sister forgot her rent again. Every time it was an emergency. And every time I said yes. I didn't track it at first. I told myself it was just what you did for family, that this was love, that someday they'd be okay again and I'd move out and start my life. But that day never came. By the time I was 28, I'd paid off over $42,000 in collective family debt. None of it was mine. Credit cards I didn't use. A medical bill from my dad's minor surgery. My sister's student loans she dropped out after 3 semesters but kept the check. Even the down payment on a used SUV my mom insisted she needed to get to work, but that mysteriously ended up in my brother-in-law's name. I still remember the exact moment it hit me, sitting in the HR office at my second job signing a contract for extra weekend hours just so I could make my mom's mortgage payment. I hadn't bought a new shirt in a year. My shoes had holes in them. I lived in the basement with no windows eating rice and eggs most nights. Meanwhile, my sister posted beach selfies and my dad ordered steaks on DoorDash. And yet I said nothing. Looking back, I think part of me needed to be needed. Like if I stopped being useful, I'd stop mattering. My family never said thank you, not really, but they also never yelled. They didn't hit. They didn't abandon me. I told myself that was love. But deep down, something was rotting. There were signs, of course. My sister would joke, "Well, you're single and childless, who else is gonna help?" My mom once sighed, "You're our miracle, sweetie. We don't know what we'd do without you," right after asking for $800 to cover the gas bill. And then there was the quiet resentment. Like when I said no once and everyone went silent. It was for a $75 school fee my nephew needed. I said I can't this week. I'm behind on my own stuff. The next day I overheard my dad telling my mom she's getting selfish now that she thinks she's better than us. That one sentence sat in my chest like a rock. Better than us. I'd been sleeping 4 hours a night and skipping meals to carry this family, and that was what they thought. Still, I didn't leave. I stayed because leaving felt like betrayal. Like I was abandoning people who couldn't help the fact that life was hard. But slowly that guilt started to curdle into something sharper. Anger, confusion, sadness. And then came the dinner. It was a regular Sunday meal, the kind we had once a month when everyone actually showed up. We were crammed around my mom's table, half laughing, half eating. My sister-in-law, who never liked me much, said it without even blinking. She was joking about something my dad forgot to pay and laughed. Well, at least the family parasite will cover it like always. The table went quiet. She laughed again, waiting for someone to back her up. No one did. No one defended me. Not my mom, not my sister, not even my little brother who used to cling to my legs when he was scared. They just stared. I looked around the table and realized I didn't belong. I wasn't a daughter or a sister, I was a service, a convenience, a human wallet. I didn't say a word. I just picked up my plate, took it to the sink, and left. I didn't slam the door, I didn't yell, I didn't cry until I got home. And that was the night I decided I was done. They didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. Guilt was my love language. I didn't cut them off right away. That's the thing with people like me, we don't go nuclear. We withdraw. Quietly, gradually, like pulling a splinter out of your skin. You wince the whole way through, but you keep going because you know it doesn't belong there. After the dinner, after the parasite comment, I didn't say anything. Not a word, not even a text. I went home, changed into sweats, and stared at my ceiling all night. I thought about everything I'd done for them. I thought about the time I sold my laptop so my sister could pay her rent. I thought about when I took out a personal loan under my name so my parents wouldn't lose their car. And I thought about the look on their faces when that word was said. Not shock, not horror, just stillness, like they agreed. Or worse, like they'd already said it behind my back. For the next few weeks, I started pulling back. I didn't answer every phone call. I stopped checking the family group chat. When my mom sent her usual "baby, we're short on gas again," I waited a day before replying. When my dad asked if I could just float us $200 this one last time, I told him I was waiting on my paycheck. Both lies. Both necessary. I guess I wanted to see what would happen if I just wasn't available. Just once. The silence was loud. That's when I realized no one asks how the person helping is doing. The helper doesn't get to be tired. The person carrying the weight doesn't get to complain they're just strong. Until they're not useful anymore, then they're dead weight. I had to sit with that. And sitting with it brought back memories I hadn't unpacked in years. Like the time I got sick in high school, really sick. Missed 2 weeks of classes. My mom still made me babysit my brother so she could work her shift. I had a fever and was vomiting every hour, but she handed me a thermometer and said, "You'll be fine, just rest between his naps." Or the time I got into a college out of state full ride and my dad told me, "Who's gonna take care of your sister's baby if you leave?" I gave up the scholarship. Told my friends it was too far from home. That was the pattern. My needs were optional. Theirs were urgent. Mine could wait. Theirs were life or death. No wonder I became the fixer. Fixing was how I was loved. And the worst part, I wasn't even angry at them for needing help. Life had hit them hard. My dad never finished high school. My mom got pregnant young. We weren't rich. We weren't even stable. They did what they could. But what broke me, what shattered something inside, was the entitlement. The silence when I was mocked. The expectation that no matter what I'd keep showing up. I think part of me hoped someone would call, say, "Hey, that was out of line," or "You okay?" But they didn't. Instead, I got a text 2 weeks later from my sister. "You forgot to send the money for mom's phone bill." No "how are you?" No "sorry." Just a passive-aggressive reminder that my usefulness was being monitored. That's when I opened a spreadsheet. I started writing it all down. Every payment, every loan, every tank of gas, every grocery run, every Uber ride I'd paid for, every meal, every gift, every overdraft I'd covered. I had receipts, bank transfers, emails. I even remembered amounts they'd forgotten. By the time I was done, the total was over $60,000. $60,000. I sat there staring at the number like it had punched me in the chest. I could have bought a house. I could have paid for grad school. I could have traveled the world. But I gave it to people who called me a parasite. That's when the guilt began to peel back, layer by layer. And underneath it, resentment. Not loud, not dramatic, just the steady growing certainty that I had been robbed not just financially but emotionally, that my love had been a transaction, that I was the only one who thought of it as something more. So I stopped. Just stopped. I didn't send the gas money. I didn't refill the grocery card I'd set up for my mom. I canceled the automatic payment for the light bill at my dad's apartment. I didn't make an announcement. I didn't say, "Hey, I'm done." I just let the silence do the talking. At first it was quiet. A couple missed calls. A voicemail from my mom, "Sweetie, did you forget the card number?" I didn't answer. Then came the texts. "Hey, I think your transfer didn't go through. Can you resend the payment? Mom says the power's out." I read every one. I didn't reply. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was just done bleeding for people who didn't notice I was cut. Then came the call. It was my sister-in-law, the same one who'd called me a parasite. She didn't know I'd picked up. I could hear her laughing in the background before she realized I was on the line. "Oh, hey." Her voice shifted. Sweet, sticky. "Hey, listen, I think there's some mix-up with the internet bill. You usually cover that, right?" I paused, then said no. Silence. "I don't cover that anymore." She scoffed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done." And I hung up. No explanation, no apology, no fight. Just a quiet end to a role I never auditioned for in the first place. I thought it would feel good, liberating, maybe even powerful. But it didn't. Not yet. It just felt quiet, like standing on the edge of a cliff and waiting to see if the ground would give way. I didn't have to wait long. The parasite comment that changed everything. The real fallout started about 5 days after that call. My mom left me 4 voicemails in one day. I didn't answer any of them. I just listened. They started sweet, got panicked, then turned bitter. Like clockwork. "Hi baby, just checking in. Hope you're okay. Sweetheart, did something happen? Your uncle's coming this weekend and I told him you'd help with the food. Then I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is really selfish." That last one hit different. Not because of the word selfish, but because of the tone, like I'd committed some unforgivable act. Like my silence was a betrayal greater than any of theirs. And then the dam broke. On Sunday morning, the family group chat that had been dead for months suddenly lit up. Dad, you think you're better than us now? Sister, some of us actually have responsibilities, you know? Mom, we took care of you your whole life. Now you turn your back on us. I didn't reply. I didn't even read the rest. I just turned my phone off and went for a walk. It was freezing outside, but I didn't care. I needed to feel something that wasn't shame or guilt or obligation. I needed cold air in my lungs and the sound of my boots on wet pavement. I needed space. By the time I got back, my voicemail was full. My brother had even called. He never calls. His message was short. Hey, not sure what's going on, but Mom's crying. Can you just talk to her? Please. I closed my eyes and let my head fall back against the wall. This was it. The unraveling. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. And when that disappeared, the illusion of family cracked like glass under pressure. I should have been angry, but I wasn't. Not really. I was exhausted, bone-deep tired. Years of being the fixer, the giver, the doormat, it wears you down in invisible ways. And when you finally stand up, even just a little, people act like you set the house on fire. But the real fire hadn't started yet. That came later. Tuesday evening. I was at work late when my phone buzzed. A text from my little cousin Mia. She's 19, smart, way too observant for her own good. Mia, yo, okay, Grandpa says you cut everyone off, just checking. I smiled. Of all people, Mia had noticed something real. I replied, I'm okay, just tired of being everyone's safety net. She sent a heart emoji, then nothing else. That was enough. But 2 hours later, the messages started coming in again. Apparently, my mom's phone had been disconnected. The grocery card I'd set up had been declined at checkout. The internet at my sister's house was out. My dad was livid. He posted a passive-aggressive Facebook status about ungrateful children who forget where they came from. That's when my sister called me. Not texted, called. I let it ring. Then again, then a third time. On the fourth, I picked up. Finally, she snapped, "What the hell is going on with you?" I stayed silent. Mom's crying, Dad's furious, and we're all just sitting here wondering if you've completely lost your mind. Are you done? I asked. She paused. Excuse me? Are you done blaming me for things you've been doing to yourselves for years? You're seriously acting like a victim right now. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the irony was so thick I could have drowned in it. You know what's funny, I said? When you guys need something, I'm family. But when I need respect, I'm too sensitive or selfish or, oh right, a parasite. She fell silent. I continued. I gave everything I had. Time, money, energy. And when I finally said no just once, I was suddenly the villain. You didn't have to cut everyone off like this. Did I? Or did you all just assume I'd never stop bleeding for you? Another silence. Then she said, we're family. That has to mean something. Yeah, I said. It does. And I'm finally starting to believe it means I deserve better. I hung up before she could respond. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't explosive, it just ended. I sat on the floor of my apartment for a long time after that. No tears, no triumph, just a quiet kind of grief, the kind that comes when you realize the people you love might never have loved you the way you needed. The next day, I got a call from my mom. I didn't answer. 2 days later, she showed up at my apartment. I heard her through the door knocking, saying my name, asking if I was okay. I almost opened it. Almost. But then I remembered the dinner table. Her silence. Her eyes looking anywhere but at me when that word was said. I remembered all the times I needed her to say something, anything, and she didn't. So I turned off the lights, laid on the floor, and waited for the knocking to stop. And when it finally did, I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself, you're not a parasite. You were just their host, the day I stopped paying. After that, I went full ghost mode. No calls, no texts, no emails. I even blocked a few numbers, not out of spite, but because I knew if I let even one message in, I'd fall back into old patterns. The fixer, the helper, the first responder to every fire they started. Instead, I focused on survival mine. For the first time in years, my money stayed mine. My paychecks didn't evaporate the moment they hit my account. I bought groceries without checking my balance 3 times. I bought a real winter coat, not one from the clearance rack, not a hand-me-down, a coat that fit me. That felt like it belonged to someone who was allowed to care about herself. It's wild how strange that felt, buying something for me and not apologizing to anyone for it. Meanwhile, the chaos on their end escalated. It started with my mom texting through a burner number. I didn't respond. Then she started messaging from Facebook. I blocked her there too. Then came my uncle texting, hey, your mom's not well. I replied with one sentence, She wasn't well when she called me a parasite either. No response after that. Then my dad called from a different number. I let it go to voicemail. He left one. I don't know what your problem is, but this little tantrum of yours has gone on long enough. A tantrum. $60,000 in and I was throwing a tantrum. I saved the voicemail, just in case. The thing is, they weren't just panicking because I'd cut them off financially. They were panicking because I'd cut them off emotionally. They couldn't guilt me, couldn't reach me, couldn't drag me back into the dynamic that made them comfortable and left me empty. They tried every angle: anger, guilt, pleading, even weaponizing other people. One day, my childhood neighbor, Mrs. Ellis, texted me out of nowhere. "Mrs. Ellis, your mom says you're going through something. She's worried. Just know we all love you." I stared at it for a long time before replying. Me, if love means using someone until they collapse, then yes, I'm finally going through something. No reply. A week later, my sister posted a long cryptic Facebook status about fake family members who forget who raised them. A bunch of her friends commented with hearts, "And you don't deserve that." It was like watching a play I'd already seen. Same script, same actors, slightly different lighting. But then came the part I didn't expect. The landlord called me. Not for my place, for my mom's. I had co-signed her lease years ago during a rough patch. She told me she'd get back on her feet and take over the payments. She never did. I was the one who kept the lights on, quietly, monthly, until now. The landlord said the rent hadn't been paid in 2 months. "I'm just calling because your name's still technically on the lease," he said. "We're filing eviction notices next week unless something changes." For a split second, my old reflex kicked in. Fix it. Send the money. Protect her. But then I looked around my apartment, small, quiet, but mine. I looked at my desk where I was finally applying to grad school. I looked at my hands, not trembling from anxiety. I thought about the coat hanging by the door, warm and paid for. And I said I'm not responsible for that anymore. He was quiet for a second. "I understand, just needed to check." "Good luck," I said. Then I hung up. That night, my mom texted from another unknown number. "Mom, you're really going to let your own mother get kicked out of her home?" I stared at it. No hi, no I'm sorry, just expectation. That I'd come through again. That I'd buckle. That love meant sacrifice and sacrifice always meant me. But I didn't reply. I just blocked the number. Then I opened the spreadsheet again, the one where I'd tracked every dollar, every transfer, every forgotten favor. And I added a final line. Lease cosign liability removed. Cycle ended. I didn't cry. I didn't gloat. I felt calm. And that's when I realized I hadn't abandoned them. I'd abandoned the version of me they depended on, the version who never asked for anything, who said yes, even when it broke her, who gave love and called it loyalty, even when it came at the cost of herself. A few days later, I got a message from Mia again. "Mia, they're freaking out. Grandma says you've turned cold." I smiled. "Me tell Grandma. I'm not cold. I'm just not burning myself alive to keep them warm anymore." Mia, damn, that's kind of badass. It was. But it wasn't revenge, it wasn't even justice. It was just me walking away, finally. But the funny thing about leaving, sometimes it makes people desperate. And desperation can bring out truths you were never meant to hear, watching it all crumble. About 3 weeks after the lease call, my sister showed up at my job. I hadn't told anyone where I worked, but I guess desperation makes people dig. She was waiting outside the building when I stepped out during lunch. Arms crossed, eyes puffy, like she'd been crying but trying really hard not to let it show. 5 minutes, she said before I could walk past. I almost didn't stop, but something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe that ghost of guilt still buried deep, hesitated. I nodded. She followed me to the bench outside the sandwich shop on the corner. "I know we've said some messed up things," she started, "and I know you're hurt." I didn't say anything. She kept going. "But you punishing all of us like this, it's not right. Mom's sick. Dad can't even get out of bed some days. The lights are out. The fridge is empty, like we're falling apart." She waited, like she expected me to fold. I looked down at my hands. "You didn't ask how I'm doing." She blinked. "What? You just told me how everyone else is doing. You didn't ask how I'm doing." She looked away, jaw tightening. "This isn't about you." "No," I said. "That's exactly the point. It's never been about me. It's always about who needs what from me. Who's behind on bills, who's crying, who's tired, and I get it. Life's hard, but I've been drowning for years while all of you stood on my back. And when I finally stood up, you got mad that I left you in the water." Her voice cracked. "You left us with nothing." "No," I said. "I left you with yourselves." She opened her mouth to argue but stopped. I could see it then. The flicker in her eyes, not just anger, not just hurt, recognition. A sliver of truth she didn't want to admit. I stood up. I hope you all figure it out. I really do. But I'm done being your plan B. And I walked away. That conversation should have been closure, but instead it was just the beginning of the final unraveling. Over the next week, things imploded. The landlord filed the eviction notice. I know because my name had just been formally removed from the lease and they still sent me the paperwork out of courtesy. I forwarded it to my mom. No message. Just the notice. Then the utilities were shut off. Water, gas, electric gone. Mia messaged me again. Mia, they're trying to stay at Uncle Min's. He said no. Me, good. It's time someone else learned to say no. Then came the call from my dad. It was late, I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to. His voice was hoarse, quiet. I know you hate me right now, he said, but we need help. I don't hate you, I replied. I just don't owe you. There was a long pause. You really going to let your old man live in his truck? I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. You really going to pretend I wasn't already living out of fear for the last 10 years? Another silence, then he whispered, I didn't know. You didn't ask. He started to cry. I didn't expect that. Not from him. My father never cried. Not at funerals, not at weddings, not when he lost his job. But here he was broken not by tragedy, but by a mirror held up too long. I'm sorry, he said. We messed up. I messed up. I believed him. For the first time, I think he saw it. Not just the consequences, but the pain he hadn't acknowledged. Not just in me, but in himself. I don't know how to fix this, he said. You don't, I replied. But you can start by not pretending it never happened. That night I didn't sleep. I thought about calling him back, offering help, a plan, a list of community resources. But I didn't, not because I didn't care, but because it wasn't my turn to fix things anymore. The next day I got a group text. Sister, we're selling mom's car to cover a motel, just FYI. Then separately from Mia, they're planning to ask you to come to a family meeting on Sunday. Me let them ask. I didn't go. I went hiking instead. Alone. 3 hours up a hill I'd never climbed with nothing but a bottle of water and my silence. At the top I sat down, looked out over the tree line and let the wind wash over me. And I realized I didn't feel guilt anymore. Not because they suffered, not because they finally faced consequences, but because I wasn't responsible for their suffering. I had handed them the tools. Years ago. And they used them to build a ladder, then burned it and asked me to carry them again. They didn't know it yet, but that version of me, the one who could be manipulated with tears, guilt, or the word family, she was gone. What remained? Someone they didn't recognize. But I did, and I liked her. I chose myself, and that was enough. It's been 7 months since I last stepped foot in my mother's house. I remember every detail of the last time. The cold laminate floor, the faint smell of instant noodles and cheap air freshener, my little brother's beat-up sneakers in the corner, my sister scrolling on her phone, not even glancing up, my mom in the kitchen calling out, "Did you bring the envelopes?" No hug, no, "How are you?" just an assumption. I had the envelopes. I'd withdrawn $400 cash to cover groceries and utilities as usual, but I never handed them over. That was the day after the parasite comment, the day everything cracked. Since then, I've rebuilt in ways I didn't even know were possible. The first few weeks after cutting them off were like detox. My phone felt too quiet, my mind too loud. I kept expecting a siren call, a crisis I couldn't ignore. But as time went on and the silence stretched out, I began to realize how much of my life I had put on hold. I finally applied to that graduate program I shelved 3 years ago. I got in. I started seeing a therapist. The first few sessions were mostly me saying, I don't know if it was really that bad, and her slowly, gently showing me that yes, it was. Not in a dramatic TV movie way, but in the erosion of self-worth. The invisible strings tied to words like obligation, loyalty, love twisted into tools. We talked about boundaries. I thought boundaries meant shutting people out. She said they mean letting people in without losing yourself. I liked that. I got a raise at work. Without the extra financial burden, I was sharper, more focused. I stayed late because I wanted to, not because I was running from a home that only welcomed me when I brought something. I bought myself a used car, nothing fancy, but it was mine, paid in full. No cosigner, no guilt. Mia and I still talk, more often now. She updates me from the inside but doesn't pressure me to engage. She gets it. More than anyone, she gets it. She told me they eventually moved into a small apartment outside the city. The family's fractured now. My sister barely talks to my dad. My mom works part-time at a local shop. They're surviving, but just barely. They're different now, she said once. Not better, just quieter. I didn't ask for details. I don't want vengeance. I don't need them to suffer. I needed them to see, but whether they ever truly do, I've let go of needing to know. Then a month ago, I got a letter in the mail from my mom. It wasn't long. It wasn't an apology either. Just 5 lines. We didn't realize how much we leaned on you. We're not good with words. I hope you're well. I miss hearing your laugh in the kitchen. Love, Mom. I read it twice, folded it back up, placed it in a drawer. I didn't cry, I didn't call her. But for the first time, I didn't feel angry or obligated, just steady. I've thought a lot about forgiveness. How people act like it's a door you walk through once, one grand gesture and poof, you're free. But that's not how it works, at least not for me. For me, forgiveness is a hallway I walk down every day. Sometimes I stop, sometimes I sit on the floor, sometimes I go backward. But I keep walking. Because here's the truth. Choosing yourself after a lifetime of being chosen last, it doesn't feel triumphant. It feels terrifying. Like stepping into a world without a script, without applause, without a role to play. But once the fear passes, you realize you're not lost. You're just free. I don't know if I'll ever talk to them again. Maybe, maybe not. But I do know this. They called me a parasite, but I was never feeding off them. I was keeping them alive while they drained me, and when I stopped, they flailed. Because they never thought the quiet one would leave. They never thought the giver would draw a line. They never thought the glue could walk away. But I did. And I'm still here. Still standing. Still whole. Story 2. They didn't say Happy Easter. They didn't say thanks for coming. What my mother said the first thing out of her mouth when she opened the door was, "You shouldn't have come, Jonah." That was it. No hug. No smile. Just a quiet sentence almost whispered like a secret. I stood there holding a basket full of chocolate eggs I'd made by hand and a bottle of Pinot she used to love. I'd driven 3.5 hours, worn the stupid pastel button-up she always said made me look soft in the good way, and somehow I still wasn't welcome. "Are you serious?" I asked, stunned. Mom stepped out and half closed the door behind her. Her voice dropped lower. "It's better if you don't come inside. There's tension. Danielle said she wouldn't show up if you were here." Of course, Danielle, my older sister, the sun around which our parents' attention endlessly orbited. The sensitive one, which really meant she could start fires and be congratulated for staying warm. Inside the house I heard laughter, the clink of cutlery. Someone, probably my cousin Evan, toasting loudly to family that shows up. Then I heard her voice. "Danielle." Sugar-coated and smug. "This year feels so peaceful. No passive-aggressive moods, just real love." I could have screamed. Instead I smiled. Not the kind of smile you give when you're happy. The kind you give when you realize it's time to change the game entirely. "All right," I said, pulling out my phone. "Enjoy your drama-free Easter, but don't expect my support next month." Mom blinked. "What support?" I held her gaze. "The electricity, water, internet. The bills I've been covering for the last year while Dad looks for a better fit than retirement. Remember those? The ones in my name, I just shut them off." She paled. "No, you didn't." I tapped the screen. Click, lights out. From inside, Danielle shrieked, "Why is the Wi-Fi down?" Mom reached for my phone. I stepped back. "Happy Easter," I said, and walked away. She didn't chase me. No one did. The porch light flickered once, then darkness. I sat in my car and watched the house go still, the fake peace unraveling in real time. Danielle burst through the door 5 minutes later, red-faced and furious. She waved her phone in the air like a flag of entitlement. "Are you out of your mind? We have kids here." I rolled down the window. "Maybe call someone else next time, like the real family you toast to." Then I drove off. That was the moment I stopped being their human ATM, their emergency contact, their backup plan. That was the moment I became their ghost. I used to believe helping meant love, that paying the bills, even without being asked, was my role because I was single, childless, and financially lucky. My dad lost his job 3 years ago and I stepped in. Mom needed some dental work that wasn't covered by insurance done. Danielle needed a car lease co-signed. I signed and made 6 payments while she figured things out. At first it felt good. They called me responsible. A rock. Then it shifted. Danielle would laugh at dinner and say, "It must be nice to only worry about yourself." Mom would chime in, "Jonah just likes being in control. Paying gives him a sense of purpose." Control. Purpose. I once paid their $900 power bill on my lunch break while eating gas station sushi in my car. If that's control, I was doing it wrong. It got worse. I overheard a conversation one night after stopping by unexpectedly. I had brought groceries, let myself in. They didn't know I was there. "He's so intense lately," Danielle said. "He acts like paying a few bills makes him king," Mom replied. Dad chuckled. "Let him, he has no life. At least this way he's useful." "Danielle, he should be grateful we give him something to be part of." They laughed. I stood there frozen in the hallway. I put the groceries on the counter, turned around, and left. Later that night, I canceled the streaming services Netflix, Hulu, Prime. I didn't explain. The next day, Danielle texted, "Did the internet glitch again, or did you forget to pay?" I didn't respond. I was done explaining. The real breaking point came 2 weeks later. I checked my credit card, the one I'd given Mom just for emergencies. There it was. A $2 $400 charge from a resort in Sedona. A $1 $700 Apple Store purchase. Multiple transactions from some overpriced online clothing boutique. I called her. "Did you buy a MacBook? It's for Danielle. Her old one crashed. And the spa retreat. She needed it. She's been so anxious." I was silent. Then she said it. "You make more than all of us combined. It's not like you can't afford it." That's when something inside me cracked quietly, irreversibly. It wasn't the money. It was the clarity. They didn't respect me. Not even a little. They saw me as a resource, a faucet, a favor machine. And if I ever stopped flowing, they'd be mad, not sad mad. Easter was supposed to be my last olive branch. I'd taken time off, made treats for the nieces and nephews, worn the pastel shirt, and they shut the door in my face. "Things are just better without you." That's what Danielle said through the doorway. So I gave them exactly what they wanted. No Jonah, no power, no water, no internet. Darkness, the kind they had begged me to fix for years. The kind I no longer owed them. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel bad about it. The call started before I even got back to my apartment. First Mom, then Danielle, then Dad. One after another, like emergency flares, lighting up my screen with guilt and panic. I ignored every single one. But I did pause when I saw a text from Dad that read, "Don't be dramatic, just come fix this." Fix. That's always what it came back to. I was the fixer, the patch, the backup generator for every blown fuse in their messy lives. This time I didn't fix a damn thing. That night I ordered takeout, lit a candle, and sat in the quiet. It wasn't lonely. It was clean, still, unburdened. Until the knock came. It was 8:47 p.m. I knew who it was before I even got up. I waited. Let them knock again. Let them feel what it's like to be ignored by someone who used to drop everything at their first inconvenience. Then I opened the door. Danielle stumbled forward like she was about to barge in. I held up a hand. Inside voice, I said flatly, "Or this door stays closed." Behind her, Mom stood on the landing, arms crossed. Dad was pacing like a sitcom dad about to explode. "You cut the power," Danielle snapped. "You shut off our internet." There were children in the house. Children whose parents depend on someone they disinvited. Mom looked me up and down like I was a stranger. "I don't know who you've become, Jonah. Someone who finally knows what he's worth," I said. They pushed past me into the living room anyway. I let them. I wanted them to see it. The clean apartment, the working lights, the peace. Danielle spun around. "So what? This is your big tantrum? Canceling Easter and cutting us off?" "You canceled Easter," I said, calm as ever. "I just canceled the utilities." Dad rubbed his temples. "Jonah, come on. We've made some mistakes, but this is petty." "Petty," I laughed. "You used my money for a wellness retreat and called me joyless. You excluded me from the one holiday I always make time for. You mocked me behind my back and you're mad. I took away your Netflix." They didn't respond. I didn't wait. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared earlier that day, not out of spite, just readiness. Utility bills last 18 months. Internet and phone lines registered under my name. Credit card statements marked itemized. 11 days earned $420 in total. Danielle looked at the paper and blanched. "This is obsessive," she muttered. "No," I said, placing the folder gently on the coffee table. "This is called evidence. For the next time you pretend I never helped." Mom finally spoke. "We're family, Jonah. Family doesn't keep receipts." "Funny," I said. "Family also doesn't treat you like a vending machine." She opened her mouth. I didn't let her speak. "I've paid your rent. I've signed for your car. I've covered your groceries, your internet, your late fees, your spa visits, your therapy, your Disney Plus subscription, and the phone you're holding right now." I turned to Danielle. "And you once told a mutual friend that I like being the sad single guy with a savior complex." Danielle flushed. You weren't supposed to hear that. I wasn't supposed to fund your life either, but here we are. Dad stepped in. Look, let's reset. We can figure something out. You're clearly angry. No, I said, I'm finally not. They blinked. I continued quiet but direct. I've been angry for years. You just never noticed, because you didn't care, not unless it affected your comfort. But I've finally done the math. And the only thing angrier than me is my budget. A silence settled. Not awkward, just new. They weren't used to me having the last word. Danielle's voice dropped. You think this makes you better than us? No, just done with you? They left shortly after that. No apology, no promises. But I didn't need either. The next day, I blocked all autopays connected to their address. Then I did something even more radical. I booked a long weekend out of town, not to escape them, but to meet someone I hadn't made time for in years, myself. 3 days in a cabin by a lake. No Wi-Fi, no schedule. Just me, a journal, and a borrowed dog from a friend. I hiked. I cooked. I slept without dreaming of overdue bills or voicemail guilt trips. By the second morning, I realized something odd. I hadn't clenched my jaw in 36 hours. I wasn't checking my phone constantly. I wasn't rehearsing arguments in my head or editing messages I'd never send. I was free. Not because I had no one to care for, but because I'd stopped caring for people who only loved me when I was useful. Of course, the calm didn't last. It never does. A week after the Easter blackout, I got a group text from Danielle. Hope your solo retreat helped. We're talking about selling the car. You can be proud of yourself now. I didn't reply. She followed up with a screenshot of the lease agreement, still in my name. Transfer the lease, I texted back. You have 10 days. She read it, no reply. So I called the leasing company and set a hard transfer deadline. Let her handle the paperwork for once. Mom tried again too, sent an email. Subject line, this isn't how we raised you. I didn't open it, just archived it under a new folder, boundaries. Funny how when you stop bending, people call you broken. But I wasn't broken. I was done bending for people who called my spine a weakness. They loved me generous, silent, and obedient. I loved me awake. Every day that passed without them calling me for help felt like healing, like pulling weeds and finding soil beneath it. I started doing small things that made me feel human again. Reorganizing my kitchen, making playlists that weren't just for family barbecues, reading books I used to skip because I was too tired, but really I was just emotionally bankrupt. Then something wild happened. People noticed. A coworker said I looked lighter. A neighbor dropped off banana bread after seeing me laugh on my porch. Even my barista said, whatever's going on in your life, keep doing it. So I did. But then came the twist. A message from my cousin Nina. She'd been at the Easter gathering, stayed out of the drama, didn't take sides. Hey, I know it's not my business, but what you did? Shutting it all down, it was badass. I just wanted you to know someone sees you. I stared at that message longer than I expected, then typed back, thanks, I'm still not sure I did the right thing. She replied instantly, you didn't do the right thing for them, you did the right thing for you, and they're not used to that. It hit me then. They weren't mad that I left. They were mad I left without asking permission, and worse, that I didn't come back when they knocked. I haven't heard from Dad in 2 weeks. Danielle's still posting cryptic Instagram quotes. Mom occasionally emails Bible verses, each one more passive-aggressive than the last. But I don't respond, because for the first time in my adult life, I'm not reacting to their emergencies. I'm responding to mine. And the emergency was how long I let them define love as sacrifice. It's funny how quickly people rewrite history when the spotlight isn't flattering anymore. A month after Easter, Danielle posted a story on Instagram. Black screen, white text, classic damage control. Some people only love you when you're paying their bills. Real family is there even when you're not useful. Hatcher lesson learned. I almost laughed, but I didn't comment. Didn't reply. I just screenshotted it for my petty archives and went back to folding laundry while listening to a podcast on emotional boundaries. I was too busy healing to argue. Meanwhile, Mom started her own campaign. She called relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, second cousins, great aunt Nora, even my childhood piano teacher. I know this because I started getting strange messages. Your mom says you've been struggling. Are you okay? She's worried. She wasn't worried when she closed the door in my face. She wasn't worried when she stood silently behind Danielle as I was banished from Easter brunch like a ghost in pastels. But now that her life had dimmed a little, literally suddenly, I was unwell and making erratic decisions. Classic. The oldest trick in the narcissistic family playbook. If you can't control the narrative, discredit the narrator. Luckily, I'd stopped needing their version of the story, because I'd started writing my own. It started small. I launched a blog, just a little corner of the internet called the Family Exit Plan. At first it was anonymous, a place to unpack my experiences, write about guilt, responsibility, the burden of being the good kid. I wrote about paying bills that weren't mine, about being thanked with insults, about the exhaustion that comes from being loved for what you give, not who you are. I didn't expect much, but the first post went viral. Then the second. Within 2 weeks, I had 40,000 followers. People wrote in with stories that felt like mine in different fonts. My brother used my credit for years, then told people I was controlling. I bought my parents groceries every month until they called me ungrateful. They said I was selfish because I finally said no. I cried reading some of them. Not out of sadness but relief. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't alone. That's when the messages from my own family stopped being guilt trips and started sounding like fear. Danielle called from an unknown number. "You're going public with this. Are you serious?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said, "Do you regret what you did? Or do you regret people seeing it?" She hung up. Then Mom emailed me, "Please don't air our dirty laundry. This will ruin our reputation." I stared at the screen and whispered, "You ruined it. I'm just not covering it up anymore." One night, about 2 months post-Easter, I got a call from someone unexpected. Kelly, my cousin's wife. We weren't close, but she'd always been kind, quiet, observant. She said, "I've been reading your blog. I knew things were bad, but I didn't know they were that bad." I didn't say anything. She continued, "Your mom and Danielle are saying you've gone off the rails." "Of course they are." "Well, I don't believe them." I exhaled. "Thanks." She paused. "And I just want you to know, you helped me. I finally told my dad to stop asking me for money every month. I used your template, the financial no contact one." I laughed. "That's my best post. You're helping people, Jonah, just by telling the truth." And that was the moment I realized something bigger than rage was taking root. Purpose. I wasn't just cutting cords anymore. I was building something. A blueprint. For every person who'd ever been the silent provider in a loud, ungrateful family. With the blog taking off, I created a course, Reclaiming Financial Boundaries. Simple. Straightforward. Written for people like me, not financial gurus. I priced it low, added free resources, partnered with a nonprofit that helps survivors of financial abuse. The project blew up. I got interviewed by a podcast. A journalist reached out from a digital magazine. And one day I woke up to a PayPal alert that someone had donated $1,000 to my site with the note, "You saved me. Thank you for teaching me how to unplug the guilt of V." That line stayed with me. Unplug the guilt of fool. That's exactly what it felt like. Like I'd been hooked up to their needs for years. Draining, weakening, smiling through it. And now finally I had yanked the needle out, and I wasn't bleeding anymore. Then came the biggest twist yet. My lease was ending. I'd been renting a modest 1-bedroom for 4 years, and with all the financial weight off my back, I had savings, good credit, freedom. I bought a place. Nothing huge, but it had a 2nd bedroom, a small balcony, and a view of the city skyline that made me feel like I'd actually climbed out of something. The day I signed the final paperwork, I sat on the floor of my empty living room and cried. Not sad tears, not even happy ones, just release. No more bills that weren't mine. No more cars in my name. No more conditional love disguised as obligation. Just me, my home, my future. A week later, Danielle showed up at my office. Yes, my office. I had just started consulting for a wellness startup, helping them build out their HR culture based on actual values, not performative buzzwords. She didn't make an appointment, just walked in. She looked tired. Her makeup was off. Her posture slouched, defensive, unfamiliar. "Can we talk?" I nodded. We stepped outside. I didn't invite her in. She opened with the oldest line in the book. "You're really going to throw us away like this?" "I'm not throwing anyone away," I said calmly. "I'm choosing myself. You think you're better than us." "No," I said. "I just finally like who I am when I'm not around you." That hit harder than I expected. She blinked. I didn't know it would go this far." I nodded. "That's the point. You didn't know. You didn't ask. You never cared where the money came from or what it cost me. And when I finally stopped, you acted like I'd betrayed you." She didn't argue. Instead, she said, "Dad's not doing great." I raised a brow. "Health?" "No, just everything. The house, the job hunt, the bills." I didn't flinch. She waited. "Do you want me to help?" I asked. She nodded, hesitant. So I said the quiet thing, the honest thing. "Then say you're sorry." Her lips parted. Nothing came out. I'm not doing this out of revenge, Danielle, but if you want support, you have to show some recognition of what I gave and what it cost me. Still silence. I waited, then stepped back. Until then, this is goodbye. And I meant it. She didn't follow. That night, I sat on my balcony, city lights glowing, soft jazz playing, a cup of tea in hand. And I whispered something I hadn't said out loud in years. I'm proud of me. Not for being successful, not for being the good son, just for leaving when it stopped feeling like love. And staying gone. 3 months. That's how long it had been since I walked away for good. No Easter, no follow-ups, no pity payments, no apologizing for existing on my own terms. For once, I wasn't a son, a safety net, or a silent donor. I was just Jonah. And I liked that version of me more than any identity they ever pinned to my chest like a name tag. But of course, the silence couldn't last forever. It never does. It was a Wednesday afternoon when the knock came. Not a doorbell, not a text, an actual knock. Firm, rehearsed, like someone was playing out a scene they practiced in the mirror. I opened it. There she was, my mother. No pearls, no soft smile, just tired eyes and a grocery bag in one hand. She said, "I thought you might want something home-cooked." I stared at the bag. Lasagna, I assumed. She always made it after we fought. "I don't eat meat anymore," I said calmly. She blinked. That threw her. Oh, I didn't know that. Of course not, because she hadn't asked me a single real question in years. We stood in the doorway like two strangers who remembered each other only through the lens of shared guilt. "I can just leave it," she said softly. "You can come in," I replied, "but no speeches." She nodded. We sat at the kitchen table. She glanced around, taking in the plants on the windowsill, the guitar leaning in the corner, the shelves full of books I actually wanted to read. "It's quiet here," she said. I nodded, exactly how I like it. She smiled weakly. "Your father misses you. He had a funny way of showing it." There it was, the flicker of defensiveness, the urge to argue. But she swallowed it. Good. Maybe she was learning. She reached into her purse and slid something across the table. "A letter." "I didn't read it," she said. "He wanted you to have it." I placed it to the side. I'd read it later or not. She folded her hands. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she said. "That's a first," I replied. Not cruelly, just honestly. "I came because I think I get it now." I waited. She inhaled like she was bracing herself. "You were always the responsible one, and we made that your prison." That stopped me. "I didn't mean to." She paused. "Actually, I probably did. I liked depending on you. It was easy. Too easy." I didn't speak. Sometimes silence does more than yelling ever could. She continued. "When you stopped, I didn't know how to live without that version of you. So I blamed you. Instead of asking myself why I never thought to carry the load too. It wasn't an apology. Not quite. But it was close. "I don't hate you," I said quietly. "I just don't trust you anymore." She nodded, eyes misting. "That's fair. And I'm not coming back to the family dynamic the way it was. I won't be the fallback. I won't be the fixer. I won't be invited when you want money and erased when you want peace." Tears spilled over. "I don't expect that. I'm not angry anymore," I said, "but I don't owe you anything." She nodded again. "I know." Then she stood. "Thank you for letting me in," she said. "I didn't do it for you," I replied. "I did it to prove to myself that peace isn't avoidance. It's boundaries." She left the lasagna on the counter and walked out the door. I didn't cry. I didn't crumble. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, feeling like I had finally closed a chapter, not with a bang, but a boundary. Later that night, I opened Dad's letter. It was short, sloppy handwriting, just a few sentences. "I never understood you. Not when you were quiet or kind or angry. I thought strength meant providing. I didn't know it also meant saying no. If you never forgive me, I understand. But I hope you know I always respected you. I just didn't know how to say it without asking for something." I folded the letter and put it in a drawer, not because I planned to reread it, but because it didn't deserve the trash either. It was proof, not of change, but of recognition. And sometimes that's enough. Months passed. I kept building the blog, the community, the work. I launched a podcast, Not the Problem Child. I shared my story not to shame my family, but to show others what freedom could sound like. Emails poured in. Messages from strangers saying they left toxic parents, finally moved out, stopped bankrolling siblings. People started sending me photos of their freedom purchases, the first grocery haul paid for with their own card, the cheap lamp in their new studio apartment, the dinner they bought for themselves without guilt. It was beautiful. It was real. And it made all the pain worth something. Not justified, but transformed. Then one day I saw Danielle again, by accident. We crossed paths at a bookstore downtown. She was carrying a stack of children's books and looked softer, tired but human. She saw me and froze. I nodded. She smiled, the real kind, not the Instagram one. "Hey," she said. "Hey, I heard about your podcast." "Oh," she laughed nervously. "You didn't use our names? That was generous." "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone," I said. "Just trying to heal out loud." She nodded. "It helped me, more than I expected." I didn't say anything. She added, "I transferred the car lease. I figured you knew, but still thanks for not blowing up my credit." I smiled. "Boundaries, not revenge." She paused. "We're not good at those. Boundaries, I mean." "You weren't," I corrected. "I am now." A silence passed. Then she said the most surprising thing of all. "I'm proud of you." It hit me like a light breeze, unexpected, gentle, gone too quickly. But still, it was something. "Thanks," I said. "I'm proud of me too." We left it there. No forced coffee catch-up, no empty promises to call. Just a nod of mutual evolution. And that was enough. The next time I got a text from Mom, it was a photo. Zucchini lasagna. Vegetarian. A caption underneath. "Next time you're ready, I'll make it with oat cheese." I didn't reply. But I saved the picture. Because maybe one day I'd be ready. And maybe I wouldn't. But that choice was finally mine. Now on quiet Sunday mornings, I make my own brunch. Just me and the sunlight. No phone buzzing. No emergency texts. No guilt traps masked as obligations. Just me. My records and the life I built with 2 hands and a firm no. Sometimes people ask me, "Do you miss your family?" And I say, I miss who I hoped they'd be. But do I miss the roles they shoved me into? The silence that followed my boundaries? The resentment behind every holiday smile? No, not even a little. Because peace isn't always a reunion. Sometimes it's a refusal. A refusal to shrink. A refusal to save people who never learned to swim. A refusal to trade your dignity for a seat at a table where you're only welcome if you bring the dessert and the electricity. So here's what I know now. You are allowed to leave the people who raised you if they refuse to grow with you. You are allowed to say no even if your name is on their caller ID. You are allowed to love them from a distance or not at all. You are allowed to choose your own life. And if they ever tell you, "You're not welcome," you smile. You walk. And you say loud enough for yourself to hear, "Good, I didn't come here to be welcome. I came to stop bleeding." And then, you live. For you, finally. Story 3. I was 7 months pregnant when my sister told me not to make a big deal about the baby shower they forgot to plan. Not canceled. Not delayed. Just forgot. "I mean, come on, Cass, baby showers aren't really essential, right?" she said, laughing into her phone like I just asked her to host a royal coronation. I stared at my screen in disbelief, hand resting on the top of my belly like I needed to protect my daughter from the ridiculousness. "I reminded you twice," I said, trying to sound calm. "I sent the invite template. The registry. The dates." "Well, yeah," she said, "but we've all been so busy. You're always so extra." Extra. That's the word people use when they want to belittle women for caring. I hung up. Then I opened the family group chat. I typed, "Thanks for making it clear where I stand." And I left. No long goodbye, no drama. Just a clean exit and a quiet rage. Then I logged into my banking app. Wi-Fi autopay for my brother's apartment canceled. Auto transfer to Mom's rent gone. Monthly Venmo for my niece's ballet tuition declined. I didn't announce anything. I didn't post a public "I'm done" speech. I just stopped being the financial life raft they'd been floating on for the last 5 years. And let me tell you, when the Wi-Fi stopped working, they noticed. To really understand how we got here, you need to know who I was before that phone call. I'm Cassandra, 31, financial analyst, spreadsheet queen, favorite aunt, family fixer. The girl who kept everyone else's plates spinning while mine was cracking beneath the weight. When my parents divorced, I was 13 and became the emotional glue. My younger brother Theo, always in trouble. My sister Rachel, the oldest and somehow the most fragile. That left me the invisible middle to play support staff for everyone's breakdowns. I got used to being the go-to, the dependable one, the she's got it handled sibling. When Theo got his car towed and couldn't pay the fees, I paid. When Rachel's husband left and drained their joint account, I covered her rent. When Mom's property taxes nearly sent her into foreclosure, I stepped in. No one asked how I was doing, they just asked for my routing number. But I didn't mind, not at first. They called me a saint, a rock. The successful one. I wore that like a badge. Until I got pregnant and suddenly I became a burden. When I told them I was expecting, their reactions were muted. Mom blinked and said, "Already? I thought you wanted to wait." Theo fist bumped me like we were college buddies. "Cool, congrats." Rachel stared and said, "Is this planned?" I brushed it off, chalked it up to surprise. But in the weeks that followed, something shifted. Like they couldn't process me as anything other than their safety net. And now that I was building something of my own, I was no longer convenient. I kept it simple. I made an Amazon registry, diapers, baby monitor, nothing fancy. I asked Rachel if she'd help host a shower. She replied, maybe something casual like a Zoom thing. A Zoom thing. Meanwhile, that same month, she hosted a dog birthday party for her French bulldog. Full decor, party hats, gourmet pup cakes. But me, pregnant with the family's first grandchild, crickets. So I hosted it myself. I asked my best friend Sam if I could borrow her backyard. She said yes without blinking. I sent out invites. Handmade digital with RSVP links. Not one family member responded. Not my mom. Not Rachel. Not Theo. The week before, I reminded them, gently. Hey, just checking if you saw the invite. Rachel responded with a shrug emoji. Theo left me on red. Mom finally replied. We'll see. That weekend's tight. That weekend. I opened Instagram. There they were. At my cousin Amanda's third baby shower. Full buffet, customized cookies, and a freaking bounce house. My mom in a coordinated outfit smiling wide beside the cake. Rachel doing TikTok dances. Theo holding a balloon garland like he built the whole thing himself. Not one of them had even texted me that day. And in that moment, sitting alone with swollen feet and a half-decorated cake, I realized the truth. They didn't forget my baby shower. They just decided it wasn't worth remembering. 2 days later, Theo texted, Yo, Spotify isn't working, you good? I stared at it. Spotify, his gym membership, his data plan, all charged to my account, quietly, every month. And Rachel sent me a Venmo request for $127. Ellie's school fees, thanks. No context. No please, no apology. That's when something in me broke. I opened the group chat and typed one line. Don't worry about the baby shower, I already got the message. Then I deleted the app. The next morning was pure chaos. Theo called twice. Cass, what the hell, I have a date tonight and no Uber, fix it. Rachel messaged, why is the Target card frozen? I had baby formula in my cart. Mom left a voicemail. Sweetheart, I don't know what's going on, but this behavior is not like you. You're scaring me. What's scary is how long I let it go on. What's scary is how easily they accepted everything I gave and how quickly they vanished when I needed the smallest gesture. So I sat back, drank peppermint tea, watched my baby roll under my skin, and for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever. Relief. 2 days after I left the group chat and canceled everything, Mom called again. No, how are you feeling? No, are you okay? Just, we're coming over tonight, we need to talk. I stared at my phone, belly resting against my thighs, ankles swollen, heart calm. They weren't coming to check on me. They were coming to corner me. And for once I wasn't afraid. I was done being the audience to their drama. At 6:14 p.m. they arrived. No knock, no courtesy. Rachel came in first, tossed her purse on my couch like it insulted her. Theo followed behind, hoodie up, looking around like he owned the place. Then Mom, silent, lips tight, eyes scanning the room like she was prepping for war. No one asked if I needed water, or if the baby was kicking, or if I was okay. They just sat down and waited for me to begin. But this wasn't a courtroom, and I wasn't the one on trial. Let's cut to it, Rachel snapped. This whole stunt, the silent treatment, the bills, it's childish. Childish. That word again. Funny how standing up for myself suddenly made me immature. I didn't flinch. I just said, you mean canceling all the payments I wasn't obligated to make? Theo scoffed. Spotify, Cass. Seriously, I had to sit in silence at the gym. And I had to pay my own Wi-Fi for once, Rachel added. Ellie missed her homework Zoom because of you. I looked at both of them. Calm, cold, clear. Yes, I said. Because that's what consequences look like. Mom's voice came in sharp. Cassandra, this isn't you. You've always been the reliable one, the heart of this family. Exactly, I said. And the heart needs to stop pumping blood to a body that doesn't care if it's dying. They blinked. That was new. I stood slowly, hand bracing my back. Do you know what it's like to be 7 months pregnant, alone, aching, and still trying to be everything for everyone? Rachel rolled her eyes. Oh my God, still about the baby shower? No, I said. It's about the fact that you chose not to come. Not even a reply, not even a lie to make me feel better. Just silence. Theo mumbled, it's not like we planned Amanda's shower just to spite you. No, I said. You just prioritized a third-time cousin over your sister's first child. Mom stood up, then arms crossed, voice firm. We didn't think you needed anything, Cassandra. You're the strong one, the capable one. Translation, I asked. You didn't think I deserved anything. Rachel huffed. You act like you're the victim. But you've always been the one with the good job, the condo, the stability. So yeah, we leaned on you. That's what family does. No, I said, that's what users do. Theo sat forward. Wow. So now we're leeches. If the shoe fits, I said. He stood up. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. It makes me tired. Tired of pretending that love is measured in monthly transfers and silence is support. Rachel stood up too. So what, this is your villain arc now? You're gonna raise your baby all alone? Bitter and broke. I smiled. I'll take a loan over surrounded and invisible. And then the unexpected. My cousin Mia had been sitting silently in the corner cradling a bottle of sparkling water. She stood up. Shaky voice. But loud enough. She's not the problem. You are. Rachel turned. Excuse me. You all talk about Cass like she's your wallet, not your sister. Mom glared. Mia, this doesn't involve you. It should, Mia said. Because I used to believe we were a family too. Until I saw how you treat the one person holding all of you together. Theo muttered, this is ridiculous. No, Mia said, it's overdue. And then just like that, she picked up her coat and left. The door shut behind her like a final period on a sentence I hadn't been brave enough to write. After Mia left, the room turned cold. No one said anything for a few seconds. Then Mom sighed. Think about your baby. She needs a family. I stared at her, not with hate, just honesty. She will have one, just not this one. Rachel scoffed and grabbed her bag. Theo followed, grumbling about needing an Uber. And Mom? She stood in the doorway for a second longer like she wanted to say something. She didn't. And I didn't stop her. I closed the door quietly behind them, but it felt louder than any slam. The silence after they left didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Like I finally stopped holding my breath after years of drowning. That night, I sat on the nursery floor with a cup of tea surrounded by half-assembled furniture and unopened registry boxes, the few things strangers had sent. And I whispered to my baby, you'll never have to earn love like I did. She kicked once, like she understood. The fallout came fast. Theo posted a story the next morning. Some people only care when the money's flowing. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Rachel reposted it with crying emojis. Mom texted a paragraph. We're disappointed, but we still love you. Please stop this behavior. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't behavior. It was a boundary. By day 3, the panic set in. Rachel, can you please unlock the Target card? Ellie has a field trip. Theo, this gym suspension is messing with my routine. Real talk, you got petty real fast. Mom called 3 times. Left a voicemail each time. I don't know what you're doing, Cassandra, but you're hurting everyone. I didn't pick up. They were finally starting to feel the absence. Not of my money, but of my compliance. Day 5. The guilt came. Rachel messaged. Look, I get it. We should have done better. But Ellie's crying now because she misses you. You happy? No, Rachel. But I'm finally at peace. I listened to the voicemail, then deleted it. The old me would have cracked. Would have Venmo'd the trip fee and called it love. But I'm not her anymore. I'm a mother now. And I won't teach my daughter that guilt is a currency. Day 7. The unexpected happened. Kevin, Rachel's ex, Ellie's dad, showed up at my door, holding a small box wrapped in tissue paper. These are from Ellie, he said. She picked them herself. Baby socks. Said the baby needs warm feet. I teared up. Kevin looked tired but kind. She misses you, he said. I do too, honestly. You were the only one who ever showed up for her. He paused. Rachel, she's not okay. She's spiraling. Blames HR for firing her last week. But I think she knows. Deep down. I nodded. And I said something I didn't know I believed until it left my mouth. She'll figure it out. Or she won't. But it's not mine to fix. Kevin left, quietly. And I sat on the floor with the tiny socks in my lap. For the first time in years, I cried. Not because I was weak, but because I was finally safe enough to. By the end of week 2, they stopped pretending it wasn't about the money. No more guilt texts, no more half-hearted apologies. Just silence and behind it, desperation. I know because Rachel finally broke. She sent a message through a burner account. Okay, fine. You made your point. Ellie's devastated. We can't afford her dance recital now. I hope that makes you feel better. It didn't. It didn't make me feel anything, actually, which scared me more than her words. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Then Mom left a voicemail, the kind that sounded less like a parent and more like a woman who realized she lost her last safety net. Theo's 2 months behind on rent. Rachel's car got towed. And we couldn't make it to Ellie's recital without your Target card. I don't know what to do anymore. Can you at least tell me why you're doing this? But she already knew. They all did. They just didn't want to say it out loud. So I said it for them. I texted back one line. I'm not doing anything to you. I just stopped doing everything for you. Delivered? Read. No reply. The following week, a card arrived in the mail. No return address. Childlike handwriting on the front. Inside a single note. I miss you. Mommy says you're mad forever, but I remember the pancakes and the time you came to my school play. I hope the baby is nice. Ellie. I sat down on the floor with that card in my hand and cried harder than I had in months. Not because I felt guilty, but because Ellie was the only one who never used me, and the only one who got left behind. Then came Jenna. Not Rachel, not my sister. Jenna, my friend from work who once helped me drag a bookshelf up 5 flights of stairs when the elevator broke. She showed up with a bag of groceries and a vase of fake flowers. You didn't think I'd let you get through this alone, did you? I didn't know what to say. I had spent so long surviving that I forgot what being seen felt like. We sat on my couch and drank ginger tea. She helped me assemble the baby swing. And when we were done, she pulled a folded sheet of paper out of her purse. Just something I wanted to say out loud, she said, because I know you won't believe it unless it's on paper. I unfolded it. At the top was written, "You're not too much. You were just too giving in the wrong room." And underneath a list, "You deserve joy, not transaction. You deserve community, not obligation. You deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated." I cried again, because someone had seen the cracks and hadn't run. Then came Lisa. Cousin Lisa, the one who barely spoke at family gatherings, who once whispered I'd rather be invisible than yelled at. She sent a voice memo. I moved out, away from mom and dad. I saw what happened at your place. I saw them talk over you and twist everything. And I realized I was next. You helped me wake up. Thank you. I replayed that memo 4 times. That's when it hit me. They didn't hate me because I failed them. They hated me because I stopped saving them. And when the withdrawals ended, the truth surfaced. I was never family. I was funding. Week 4. Kevin stopped by again. This time with a folded baby blanket. "It's from Ellie," he said. "She sleeps with one and wanted your baby to have one too." He hesitated at the door. "Rachel's job is gone. She's telling everyone it's HR's fault, but I think deep down she knows." I nodded. "She always does. She just never says it out loud." He looked down. "She blamed you. Again. Said you ruined the family." I smiled, soft and tired. "Funny. They said that the moment I stopped paying their bills." Kevin exhaled. "If you ever need anything..." I placed a hand on my belly. "I'll let you know. For Ellie's sake." He nodded and left. The silence after all of it wasn't hollow. It was healing. The nursery started coming together. Not because of gifts from my family, but from coworkers, old friends, and even strangers who followed my registry link through Jenna's post. One morning, I woke up to 3 unmarked Amazon packages. Inside diapers, a baby monitor, and a set of bibs with little suns on them. No notes. Just kindness. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I did both. Because for the first time in my life, I was building something that wasn't for survival. It was for me and my daughter. By week 6, the family chat remained silent. Rachel tried one last time. Just a text. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do to fix this. Ellie cries for you, and I do too." No manipulation this time. Just a crack. But I didn't reply. Because I'd realized something dangerous to someone like Rachel. Silence is power. And I wasn't here to teach them anymore. Mom didn't reach out again. Not after her last voicemail where she finally said the quiet part out loud. "We depended on you. Maybe too much. But what were we supposed to do? You had it. We didn't. Isn't that what family's for?" No, Mom. Family is showing up without needing a transaction. Family is RSVPing to your pregnant daughter's baby shower. Family is remembering you're a person, not a plan. And they failed that test 1,000 times over. It's been nearly 2 months now. I don't wake up to requests or bills I didn't make. I don't get midday texts demanding cash passwords or favors. My phone is quiet, and so is my heart. Not numb, not bitter, just still. Like a lake after a storm. The crib is built. The books are shelved. The clothes are folded, labeled, and washed in lavender baby detergent. Every corner of the nursery smells like beginnings. And when I sit in the rocker hand on my belly, I smile. Because my daughter will never know what it's like to love people who only love her when she's useful. She will never beg for scraps of affection. She will never be someone's extra. And she will never be punished for choosing peace. The day my daughter was born, it rained. Not the kind of dramatic thunderstorm you see in movies. Just a soft, steady drizzle like the world was washing itself clean. I labored in silence. No text from Rachel, no missed calls from Mom, no knock at the door. And yet I didn't feel alone. Jenna sat beside me, holding my hand through each contraction. Mia brought snacks and a phone charger and didn't once ask for anything in return. Even Kevin stopped by the next day, standing awkwardly at the door holding a tiny stuffed bear. "She looks like you," he whispered, eyes wide with wonder. I nodded. She deserves better than what I had. And in that sterile hospital room, wrapped in blankets and new beginnings, I realized something. This was family, chosen, steady, quietly kind. We named her Sage, because she's soft, but strong. And because after everything I needed a name that meant peace. I held her close and made a promise I'd been waiting my whole life to say out loud: "You will never beg for love." 2 weeks after Sage came home, a package arrived. No sender, just a scribbled address. Inside, a yellowed baby photo of me, bent at the corners, creased. Taped to the back was a sticky note. "I didn't know how to love you right, but I did love you. I just didn't know how to show it. Mom." I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even acknowledgement, but it was something. I didn't respond. I didn't send a picture of Sage. Because closure doesn't always mean reconnection. Sometimes it just means peace without performance. Rachel tried one last time. A voice memo, breathless, raw. "I messed up, and I know you think I only miss you because the help is gone. But I miss you because you were the only one who ever showed up. For Ellie, for all of us. And I see it now. I do." I didn't block her, but I didn't reply. Because I'm not her crutch anymore. And I'm not angry. I'm just done. Sage is 6 weeks old now. She has this habit of grabbing my finger with her whole fist like she knows the world's too big, but I'm enough. I rock her at night and whisper stories she can't understand yet. Stories about strength, boundaries, grace. Stories about a woman who gave and gave until she remembered she didn't owe anyone everything. Mom hasn't called again. Theo posts vague quotes on Instagram. Now things like, "Family doesn't walk away when it gets hard." I scroll past. Rachel still tries every few days. A photo, a joke, a thinking of you. I let them sit unread. Because silence is not revenge. It's recovery. Some nights I walk past the nursery and pause at the door. The light filters through the soft curtains. Her tiny breaths fill the room like music. And I think, they said I was the selfish one. But when I stopped paying, they stopped caring. When I stopped fixing, they fell apart. And when I finally asked for something, a single afternoon of celebration, a seat at the table, a slice of cake and attention, they ghosted me. Not because they forgot, but because I was no longer useful. I used to think that made me a villain. Now I know I was the warning sign. The exit plan. The reason Ellie may someday realize she doesn't owe people her peace to earn their presence. The blueprint for what it looks like to stop dancing for scraps. Jenna hosted a small welcome brunch for me and Sage last weekend. Nothing fancy. Just 4 women around a table passing coffee and cooing over tiny socks. No drama. No "you should have done more." Just love. Simple, safe, free. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel like I had to prove I deserved it. I keep that old group chat archived. Not reopened, not revisited. Just there. A graveyard of the girl who couldn't say no. And every time I almost feel bad, every time guilt knocks like an old friend, I look at Sage. And I remember what I walked through to give her a better path. When she's old enough and she asks me why there aren't pictures of Grandma holding her in the hospital, I'll tell her the truth. Gently, honestly. I'll say, sometimes the people who raised you don't know how to love you the way you deserve. And when that happens, it's okay to walk away. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're protecting your joy. I'll teach her that love doesn't mean debt. That kindness without limits becomes self-destruction. That being strong doesn't mean staying silent, and that choosing peace doesn't make her cruel, it makes her wise. They'll keep talking, I'm sure. They'll say I changed, that I became cold, distant, harsh. Let them. Because if choosing my child, my health, my worth, and my rest makes me the villain in their story, then I was never meant to be their hero.